Continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
All right, riding shotgun with us for the rest of the hour. Here in studio is Wayne Madsen of WayneMadsenReport.com. Here in studio with us today and tomorrow. He'll be popping in. We're doing interviews with him for a upcoming documentary. But we've been talking to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and he was going to be gone at the end of the last hour, but he just brought up his prognosis that the hubris and the runaway train that is the American empire, if you study history with Hitler or Mussolini or countless others, they will start wars. And actually, that's what the Rand Corporation and others say is what's needed to get the globalists out of this crisis. You know, they're attempting to get total power out of their power grab, but in the process, they're destroying the dollar that has been the source of their global hegemony. So in just a few minutes, Dr. Robertson will let you go, former head of Policy Department of Treasury, best-selling author, syndicated columnist, coming out with a bold statement like that you believe this will probably lead towards major war and perhaps nuclear war. Break down the technicals of that geopolitical statement.
Well, Alex, it's hard to do in such a short time, but look at it this way. What are the guys in Washington, what have they done? They've destroyed the economy. They've destroyed the currency. They've destroyed people's incomes. In the first decade of the 21st century, they had two massive stock market collapses, from which retirees have never recovered their assets. They destroyed, with a bubble, they bid up real estate prices, and then they've destroyed the real estate market. There's a massive wipeout of people's ability to look after themselves at home. And the government is overcommitted militarily abroad. We've got 6 wars going, either involving our troops or proxies or drones or airstrikes. These are all very expensive. None of them are affordable. And they're trying now to deny China resources. That's what Libya is all about. They're threatening Russia's national security. That's what Syria is all about, the big Russian naval base.
That's what 888 was about when they launched the attack on the Georgian areas.
Exactly. And so here you have a weak, declining country becoming more and more aggressive toward China, a very strong rising country, and toward Russia, which has an unlimited supply of nuclear weapons. So how much will China and Russia tolerate? I mean, at some point, given the hubris and the lack of judgment in Washington, they're going to cross the line, and they're going to push too hard, and there's going to be a response. And it's very easy for things to escalate, particularly when your own rulers are crazed. I mean, there's nobody in Washington that's sane, is there? I mean, what you show every day, the absurd statements, the insane behavior, the lack of concern, not just for American people, but for people anywhere. There's no concern in Washington for people.
In closing, let me ask you that. I mean, they've got the TSA coming out as a domestic police force. They now admit that they've been surveilling everybody without wiretaps, totally illegal. The TSA sticking their hands down people's pants. Just 20 years ago, they wouldn't let troops use DU. Now they use it at shooting ranges, at National Guard bases, destroying the water table. There's no safety standards now. I mean, it is really just a hubris-driven insanity. They delusionally think they have a plan, but across the board, take Bloomberg last year reporting that 11 years ago they signed secret deals, the VA did, to take the death benefits from World War II vets through current vets. I mean, this is criminality so naked. It's almost like when psychopaths in criminology have killed 15, 20 people, and they start getting more reckless, almost like they want to get caught. Your closing comments on that?
Well, what hasn't the government destroyed? They've even destroyed our civil liberties. We now have an executive, that is the president, who's not accountable to law as long as he can be at war. So, and there's no democracy. There's an oligarchy. There's 5 or 6 very powerful oligarchic interests that essentially rule. So everything's destroyed. It's not just the economy. And so you're right. You're absolutely right. And sooner or later, the people will be alienated from the government. I don't know how long people look. We have a worse situation than Big Brother in George Orwell's book, 1984, than those people living under. We're dominated by propaganda, by lies, by unaccountable government. Elections are pointless. Nothing ever changes. The political system is essentially impotent.
And that has fed their hubris to the point of like a snake eating its tail. They're now even destroying themselves. And in closing, remember that quote of Karl Rove to the New York Times reporter at a cocktail party in front of a Washington Post reporter? And the reporter's going, come on, you know you're lying about WMDs. You know, I mean, this is becoming delusional. And Rove said, you don't get it. We're history's actors now. Of course we're not following reality. You guys are what we call the reality-based community, but we control reality, so we'll change reality day to day, and then you will report on that new reality dutifully. There is the statement that shows that they believe because they have the power, that they have the power to do anything, and it reminds me of Hitler in his bunker directing armies that didn't exist.
You're right, Alex. Except we're all going to pay the price for this handful of fools. They're destroying all of us, and people all over the world are being destroyed. So, you know.
When does the dollar die? And we'll let you go. We appreciate your time. When does the dollar die?
It's dying now. It's dying right now. It's been dying for months, for years, actually, but if you look at the number of other currencies that have made new highs against the dollar the last 4 months, look, even the euro is making new highs. And the euro, despite the sovereign debt crisis in Europe and all the countries that are allegedly bankrupt.
So it's like a cancer patient who's been sick for a while, but now the patient's having trouble breathing.
That's about it, yeah.
All right, Dr. Roberts, you've been right all along, and history will know that you told the truth and stood up for what was right. I hope that people in government and the general public listening realize that it's not enough for you and I to be here telling the truth. They've got to get this information out to everybody. I am seeing some positive signs in neocon talk radio. They're now more and more, saying both parties are bad and that, inside interest in Wall Street are greedy and wrecking everything. Because I think a lot of mainline people who thought they were part of the establishment are beginning to realize that their necks are on the chopping block as well. Maybe self-preservation will get some of these yuppies out of their la-la land.
Well, we can hope so.
All right. Sir, your book is How the Economy Was Lost, The War of the Worlds, available at better bookstores and Amazon.com. Dr. Roberts, thanks for the time.
Pleased to be with you, Alex.
Thank you, sir. There he goes. It's like going to visit the doctor, and we have all these top economists and Nobel Prize winners on, and you name it, and they all tell you the same thing. And Obama says everything's great, the economy's wonderful, everything's fine. The Republicans will not tell you it's the Federal Reserve, except for Ron Paul and Rand Paul. They will not tell you it's a debt black hole impossible to get out of, designed to do this to us. And Robert's point is it's so destructive, even though it gave the bankers incredible power, what are they going to spend the money on when everything's like Zimbabwe? If we have a Great Depression like we had in the 20s and 30s, it will be road warrior. And here's the deal. The economic atmosphere, the economic climate we're in is much worse than leading up to 29. Okay, and I'm not trying to scare you. We're going to do some overdrive a little bit in the next hour because while he's here, I want to spend as much time with him as possible. And also, while we're at it live on air, let's look at the schedule. When can we get Wayne back in here for a full hour tomorrow? When I heard that Wayne Madsen was going to be leaving the United States because of a foreign embassy, a major media outlet, and a confirmation through the source in the U.S. Embassy that the White House wants him dead. And Wayne, of course, formerly with the NSA, syndicated columnist, very well respected, written some of the biggest publications in the country. When he brings something out like that, we certainly respect it. He, of course, is one of the guys meeting with the D.C. madam and helped get her on the show right before she was suicided, Arkancided. And so Wayne is here with us today and tomorrow before he gets ready to leave the United States to work on his magnum opus exposing the CIA ties of Barack Obama. Wayne Madsen Report. Wayne, great to have you here with us today.
Good to be with you here in Austin, Alex.
We're honored to have you. We're going to break here in a moment, and I want to get into your research on the CIA and birth certificate issues that are really heating up. But Dr. Paul Craig Roberts was talking about the fact that the dollar is doomed and that the elites running things are crazy. You've lived in D.C. for decades. I mean, is there a method to their madness, or has it gone to just pure hubris?
I think we haven't seen anything like this before in D.C. because even the word coming out of the Treasury Department, now I'm not talking about the senior officials, but those people that work in the bowels of the place is not encouraging. And you hear the same thing in Congress. And the news out that the U.S. economy will be eclipsed by China in 2016. I think it's clearly the writing is on the wall what's going to happen to us and our economy. It's happening right now. Of course, to listen to Obama things.
We've had two Fed heads, Kansas City and Dallas, say we are completely screwed.
Well, right. And this is
and they've said the Fed is doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a rebellion in the Fed like that.
Right. So, even they're eating their own dead here now.
Well, they wouldn't do that unless they knew it was dire.
Right. And the word has been coming out of Treasury for a couple of years now about where this economy is heading and where the dollar is heading.
I mean, is it like the Russians before their collapse where they're just delusional?
Well, when you see this push now, remember what happened to Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union? They privatized all those state-owned industries, and now we see this push to do this in the various states.
Let's talk about the method of the madness, because I agree with your analysis. I mean, it is wild what they're doing, but they've planned this, just like we're a third world country. Wayne, stay there. Break down what they did in the Soviet Union when it collapsed, what they're going to do here. And by the way, if you're in the middle class, that means you make more than $50,000 a year. They're going to rob you.